About hypertension with Barnai Roberto.
There are many types of hypertension. There is hypertension which arises from biological conflicts and changes that follow it. There is also such hypertension which we do not observe physical changes that are related to stress. Mother Nature raises blood pressure by adjusting to the stressful situation we are in. What is the purpose? What makes sense? When someone, because of a tense situation in life, gets upset about something, then the vegetative nervous system in his body begins to be laden. The consequence of this is the narrowing of the peripheral veins in its limbs, and most of the blood of his body is concentrated in the interior of the body and the nervous system. In order to increase its capacity in a conflict situation, this is a completely natural physiological reaction. When someone has a high blood pressure, or once has high and once low pressure, once it rises and once falls, it is always a must to look for stressful situations, which would precede the increase in blood pressure. If in case of hypertension, that means that in the evening when you lay down to sleep, that person is 140/80. And when it gets up in the morning, it's also higher than 140/80. The cause of this lies in the organs. It has an organ origin. At the base of persistent hypertension lies kidney necrosis. The parenchymal tissue of the kidneys begins to disappear as a result of the conflict, to which I shall speak more immediately. So it starts to fade as a result of the conflict, and thus the kidney tissue is lost, which is designed to filter blood, removal of unnecessary substances, and produce urine from them. Conflict which causes the mentioned kidney necrosis and is a cause of hypertension. 30 is a fluid-related conflict. This liquid can be understood completely figuratively, as for example flowing or flowing money, or as the pressure exerted by the build-up of our tasks. I'm overwhelmed with a huge amount of responsibilities. I feel overloaded and I do not know what to do. This is the feeling of overwhelm, even being dragged deep into an invisible swamp. Launches extraordinary renal program, extraordinary program of parenchymatic tissue. As conflict intensifies and therefore becomes more and more intense, then there is also hypertension. During convalescence, when the victim got rid of the conflict, which I point out is not necessarily the cause of water, such as when someone melts in water, this melting conflict can also trigger an extraordinary renal program. Or when someone falls under the ice, or fall into a substance and begin to fear that it may cover it. An example may be a mechanic who has fallen into a grain silo, and for many hours thinking that no one will get it, he acquired a special kidney program. So here comes the conflict in connection with the flooding or pouring substance. These days most often are money. We do not have enough liquidity, not enough money to spend, but the kidney is also affected by the conflict drought. When it dries up the supply of something vital to life, so anything that flows. Again, I am marking not only water. Interestingly, in the extraordinary program of parenchymal kidney tissue, it causes conflicts with liquids in the background, even in very metaphorically, except for blood. Conflicts involving blood affect the spleen. When the existential conflict with the liquid is over, Then a cyst is formed in the kidney. Creation and hardening of the renal cyst is a slow and lasting process. The kidney cyst is formed shortly after the end of the conflict. What can be felt through the pressure in the kidney area? This is a very unpleasant dull pain. When the cyst gets to the surface of the kidney, so-called extraterrestrial cyst. If this is repeated often, then the polycystic kidney arrives. What does polycystic kidney mean? Or kidney cyst? Why do they serve? The most important question is their biological meaning. When the kidney cyst is released outside the parenchyma, there is a thin fluid in it. In this fluid, with the involvement of bacteria, there is rapid cell proliferation. For the purpose of rebuilding the depleted pre-kidney tissue, in order to regenerate it. For many months the kidney cyst is fastened to the environment. Where does he get the blood he needs? Previously, when these processes were unknown, they did not know what it was. Both ordinary people and experts feared this phenomenon, thinking that this is a malignant cellular form that infiltrates the surrounding tissue. However, after 9 months, because it needs a cyst to harden and be able to work, the cyst slowly detaches from the environment and surrounds the epithelium. What's even more amazing, the hardened kidney cyst begins to produce urine. Previously, due to misunderstanding, cycle thought was a malicious process. It was thought to be a malignant tumor invading the body's tissues. However, when instead of examining single data, we will look at the process in its entirety, it turns out that this particular kidney program is useful. Because when the kidney cyst is hardened, it begins to produce urine, which will make the kidneys much more efficient than ever before. This is a peculiar body preparation for more serious water-related conflicts that will bring the future. This is the biological meaning of having a special renal program. The most important thing is that in biology there is no malice or malice in the literal sense. There are only meaningful or meaningless changes. An example of meaningless changes leading to serious ones, damage and even death, pathological processes caused by poisoning. Sensational changes are all those we have previously called illnesses, and which something serves. There should be no spiritualistic, esoteric or symbolic meaning in this, and only purely biological conflict. This means that biological conflicts are conflicting threats, survival, maintenance of species and further peaceful existence. Hypertension occurs in every 5th Hungarian % of pensioners suffer from it. Today it is one of the leading causes of death. The high proportion of extraordinary kidney programs in retirees and older people is due to the fact that they are more likely to suffer from biological conflicts. They often fall into existential conflicts. They worry about the decline in revenue, not knowing how they will continue to live. So I emphasize that if this percentage is indeed so high, this means that so many people have a problem: existential income and expenses. Let us call it a liquidity problem. I would like to point out that high blood pressure may occur during the active period at any conflict. Let's not forget about chronic hypertension. If a person observes when his blood pressure is increasing, and when high pressure symptoms start to appear, from the feeling of oppression to the sound of the ears, or to the internal tension that is felt in such cases, It will then be possible to determine whether this is hypertension caused by a liquidity conflict, or maybe just a transient increase in blood pressure caused by nervousness. The problem of conventional medicine is to accept the results of measurements referring to a given moment as a reflection of continuous state. Often it happens that when an old lady goes to a medical clinic to talk to a doctor, this will, by the way, measure her pressure, and from the stress associated with the pressure measurement it will jump upward. What happens then? Well, the doctor will prescribe medication for hypertension. What is the problem with hypertension medication? So if someone really has kidney necrosis, in this person hypertension causes a mechanical cause that makes sense. If the blood pressure regulating drugs are adjusted for the person who has kidney necrosis, in consequence the kidneys will not be able to produce the right amount of urine, and in this way we will increase the level of uric acid and other toxins in the blood. This process makes sense, and this should be taken into account and respected. Only then do you use symptomatic treatment when another solution is not at hand, or if the affected person finds that the solution is more comfortable and better for him and wants to use it. To overcome the symptoms of hypertension, conflicts should be resolved. If someone does not know what conflict caused hypertension, you should start observing yourself and your surroundings, paying attention to your symptoms. When does it happen that blood pressure rises? This is definitely a state, a situation, such circumstance, in which a person falls into an emotional existential conflict associated with fluidity, stagnation, lack of ability to get out. Noting this, the man will immediately realize that for this and that reason he should not be stressed out, because the more you fall into a conflict, the more necrosis of your kidneys increases, and the higher will have blood pressure. If someone only occasionally has hypertension, as so it is not related to the extraordinary renal program, let him pay attention to his feelings, on what things, information, news or circumstances, they cause unease and pressure rise. People affected by sporadic hypertension are in a better situation when they calms down. Their pressure drops right away. In case of kidney necrosis, this is not the case. The normalization appears late. When someone undergoes an extraordinary renal program, an extraordinary program of parenchymal tissue, it's at the latest in the 9th month after the problem is resolved when his kidneys will recover completely. By increasing the new kidney tissue, blood pressure will return to normal.